At the what I am calling DeAndre Watch 2023.
This is DeAndre Watch 2023.
And the latest is nothing. But I keep listening to everybody that tells me that DeAndre would be a bad fit for the Titans. And I keep hearing like the ESPN fantasy football guy that Caroline said that we couldn't talk bad about, and then she heard the take that he had, and then he said go ahead and talk bad about him after the take she heard. Like, I keep hearing that all the time. And yet, I keep thinking about how, I listen to my GMs, and my GMs keep telling me that for the most part, DeAndre Hopkins would be a good fit for the Titans. The latest, Mike Lombardi on the Pat McAfee show talking about what DeAndre would give them.
Look, he's going to help a lot of teams. There's no question. He's going to get first downs, and he's typically very good in the end zone. I mean, over his career, Pat, he's averaged 12 catches. He averages a touchdown, which is fairly good, right? Yeah. But I think it's got to be the right role and in the right situation. So I think, to me, what they need to do is try to enhance their receiving core. They're still going to run the football. The Spears kid from Tulane's outstanding to go along with Henry. Their offensive line should be better. I would not count out the Titans. I mean, they're a good defensive team, and Vrabel's a great coach. If they got Hopkins, that would help them a lot.
Okay, so that's the first general manager who says, I actually think that this would be pretty good for them. And so I like hearing that. And you know that deep down inside, like, I don't trust every general manager, but I do trust my general managers more than I would say trust some guy I've never heard of on, some guy that I've never heard of on ESPN Fantasy tell me that he would be good or not good or whatever have you. And so that's the first one. Then my other general managers, Bill Polian, NFL Radio, he says Hopkins would be a good fit for the Titans.
DeAndre Hopkins, even though he tends to be an upfield outside receiver, you can't single cover him.
Nope.
And you got to give the average corner needs help against him, and then finishing for him is, I mean, he's amazing when he finishes. He can go up and win a lot of 50-50 balls.
That's right.
So couple that with the big horse running the football and an offensive approach that wants to run the football. What's your anecdote to that play action? And man, this guy's a play action machine because he can run by anybody. So he would help Tannehill immensely.
So Mike Lombardi sees the fit, likes the fit. Polian sees the fit, he likes the fit. And then Mark Dominik, former general manager at Tampa Bay, he was on our show on Thursday, but this is what he said on Monday when it came to how much Hopkins would help the Titans.
I think they might just be one player away. I think they might. I think Hopkins might be a piece of that puzzle where when you've got if you have a healthy Derrick Henry, the wide receiver room would be certainly a lot stronger across the board. And then you look at what he talked about in terms of Chig, the tight end, and Wiley, and adding those two guys, to the mix with a veteran quarterback. Skronsky in there at the offensive line is going to solidify that a little bit better. And you've got a Jacksonville team that, yes, won the division, but we've seen Jacksonville before. Now, I think this is a better Jacksonville team, I think, overall, but we've seen a Jacksonville team have one good year and then go right back down, and I think the other two teams are still trying to figure out, number one, who they're starting, their franchise quarterback is going to be or how good that kid's going to be, the young man. And so I think Titans are kind of in this window where I think it is kind of a 1 year, let's go get it. Because we're going to have to reset this thing, or Will Levis hopefully becomes a lot, the quarterback we believe he could become. So I understand. I mean, I kind of see this team as, I think they are probably one player away. And I think if you can come out 10-7 or certainly 11-6 in the AFC South, you're gonna win the division. But I think getting DeAndre Hopkins, I think will be the piece that says, hey, the Titans are in it for real in 2023.
Okay, so my general managers like DeAndre Hopkins to the Titans. 3 of them sat there and told you, oh, yeah, no, this would be. And this is the part that's tough for me. The fit between the Titans and Hopkins just makes way too much sense. People say that, oh, he won't take the top off the defense anymore. Well, he never took the top off the defense. He was never a speed guy. When I hear people that compare him to Julio Jones and say, well, it didn't work out with Julio and this is Julio all over again, that is fair. They were both 31 years old, both coming off of down for them seasons. And 30 is certainly not a good number that you would want a receiver at, except for the fact that Julio's game, when he was at the top of the league, Julio's game was predicated on his size and his explosiveness and his ability to jump past a guy or run past a guy. DeAndre's never was. DeAndre's was about this insane ability to slip open and just cradle the football with his hands and corral every pass thrown his way like I've never seen before. In fact, that's what he's going to do for this team. The guys that are going to take the top off the defense, that's going to be Treylon Burks and Chigakonkwo. And we saw Treylon Burks, and we saw Chigakonkwo, and we saw last year that they can do that and do it consistently with Burks when he's healthy. He's a big play guy consistently. 2 big ones against Green Bay, a big one against Cincinnati, a big one against the Giants, a big one against the Cowboys. He can get you a big play. Okonkwo, we saw time and time again last year. He can get the big plays. So I'm not asking DeAndre to do that. And then, well, DeAndre, he's not going to be the number one option that he was before. I'm not asking him to do that. I'm asking Derrick Henry to be the number one option. I think we would all agree on that. It's just the fit is just so right for the Titans and DeAndre Hopkins. This is the part that is hard for me, is that they're so close. There's 2 teams out there that want them, you and the Patriots. And you've made an offer, and they've made an offer, and according to TD, they are confident, the Titans, you are confident that you're going to get DeAndre. And he just fits so perfectly into what the Titans need. And I agree with Dominic that they're one guy away, especially on offense. And he just fits it so nicely. And yet, the anxiety that I have about them being so close and that the deal is not sealed and what that could mean is driving me crazy. And I think that's what DeAndre wants. I think DeAndre Hopkins' camp looks at this, and they should. That is, let's make the Titans feel like they're close. Let's make the Patriots feel like they're close. Let's post on Instagram, boy, having a great time at the Tim McGraw concert. Or in the locker room at Foxborough, La Familia with Matthew Judon. Let's give them a taste of it. Let's let them envision that this could be real. Let's say that the Mike Reese offer, Mike Reese, who covers the Patriots for ESPN like TD does here covering the Titans, Mike Reese wrote at ESPN.com that he thinks the Patriots offer is $10 million with incentives that can get it to $2 or $3 million more. So let's say the Titans offer is in the exact same ballpark, the $11 million-ish range, which is, I believe, his value at 10.875. I think Hopkins posts on Instagram the picture with Judon or the Sprinter van or the Tim McGraw CMA Fest concert because he wants the Titans to feel the exact same way I feel now, which is they're so close. Burks, I love the talent. I've told you I think he's as talented as A.J. Brown. Will we see the consistency? I don't know. Will he stay healthy? Nothing, that is a we'll see. But he put in the work this offseason that makes me think it's possible. Okonkwo's a big guy. His stats last year were similar to Jonnu Smith's in years 3 and 4. And that was year 1 for Chig with Austin Hooper ahead of him on the depth chart. And for some reason, Jeff Swain playing every available snap. Derrick Henry's still the number 1 guy. And then there's DeAndre. And DeAndre would fit so well. And if DeAndre wants the Odell contract, as we're led to believe, the $15 million a year, and you're at 11, it's very easy to get caught up in what's the difference in $4 million? What's the difference in $4 million? But I believe the Titans have to be disciplined on this, and I would not advise them to kick in the $4 million. I would advise them to stay back. I think DeAndre's got to be about $12 million, $12.5 million, somewhere around there. And that's why I'm okay if the offer's 11 right now, which I'm assuming, I don't know that it is or isn't, but that's why I'm okay at just kind of sitting there and just seeing where they sit and letting it come to them and seeing if DeAndre really does want to go to Bill O'Brien, who got on them, who got on him about his baby mamas, according to Michael Irvin. Let's see if he wants to go play for the rigid Bill Belichick in the frigid New England. Let's see. That is discipline. And it might be discipline that I don't have because the fit seems so good and my GMs are telling me he would add so much to the table. I even heard something that Lombardi brought up today when he was talking about kind of what Hopkins is now and, you know, compared to what he used to be. This was Mike Lombardi on the Pat McAfee show. And keep in mind that I view Burks and Okonkwo as big play guys, that they are the stretch the defense, throw the ball down the field, and Derek's my number one option. Here's what Mike Lombardi said about DeAndre Hopkins.
I think D-Hop at this point in his career is really suited for the inside receiver role. You know, this is a guy who's going to get you 60 first downs a year. He's never going to take the top off the defense. He's always covered, but he's got incredible eye-hand coordination. He's got incredible balance, and he catches the ball. I think the issue is, will he practice? Can he practice? What is his health like? And what does it do to the team?
Okay. So when we talk about the practicing, that's a different discussion for different days, for a different day. But what gets me is he's not going to take the top of the day. I don't need him to. He's going to pick up first downs. He's going to be a vacuum. He's going to be a chain mover. Everything Robert Woods was supposed to be, but you know he's better than Robert Woods, and he's especially better at catching the ball. And they're so close. Oh, 615-737-1025. We'll dive into your Hopkins thoughts. 615-737-1025 if you want to weigh in. Plus, there's this whole DeAndre taking time thing. Everybody says this is going to take time. Take time. If I'm Mike Vrabel, there are two specific reasons that I don't want to take the time. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
When it comes to Nashville sports,
locking up Jeffrey Simmons, clearly that was a priority for them.
He knows his stuff.
A little bit good, a little bit bad.
And knows how to push the right buttons.
He's coming off an ACL tear, and he's 25 years old, so you cannot ignore that.
Join Outkick's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company. Withrow.
What I hate more than anything is people that are phony and not true to themselves.
Is on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey guys, this is Mike at Newton Ford in Shelbyville. Did you hear the news that we were awarded as a 2023 Dealer of the Year out of all 4 dealerships in Tennessee by Dealer Rater, where real people write real reviews about their car dealership experiences? Yep. That means we got the most 5-star reviews from customers like you over the past year out of all the 4 dealerships you could choose in Tennessee. We're proud of our reputation, but you've got to check it out for yourself. So if you want a smooth purchase of a brand new Ford or pre-owned new-to-you vehicle, we're here to help make that happen. The best part is, you can start this entire process online with Newton FastPass. That's right, no phone calls or waiting on the lot. Start shopping right now by visiting newtonford.com/Newton-FastPass. That's newtonford.com/Newton-FastPass. Come see us in Shelbyville, just a short drive from Murfreesboro, to see how we can smooth out the car shopping experience for you.
Because we work so hard for our customers, people are driving for hours to shop at Genesis Diamonds right now, taking advantage of the lowest interest rate on the planet. 0 interest for 5 years with nothing down. How about a $6,000 GIA certified diamond for just $100 a month? Pear shapes, rounds, even oval diamonds are all included. You can even finance the sales tax. All designer jewelry and all lab-grown diamonds included. Don't miss this amazing opportunity. 5 years, 0 interest financing. Exclusively at Genesis Diamonds. Green Hills and Cool Springs. Approved credit. See store for details.
Are you drowning in credit card debt? Want to get cash out of your home's equity? Loan Pronto can do it now in less than a week. Hey, Willie Donick here. That's right. Loan Pronto's Equity Express line of credit just got even faster. You can get $50,000, $100,000, even $200,000 in as little as 5 days. You don't even have to touch your primary mortgage. You can keep that 3% rate intact. Get just the money you need and pay off all those credit cards or get that home improvement project started. With this revolutionary program, you can access up to 90% of your home's value, and in most cases, there's no appraisal. Stop paying insane interest rates to the credit card companies and get tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash in as little as 5 days. Call Loan Pronto now for the even faster Equity Express line. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Want to weigh in on the conversation? It's a brain booster. Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Strong opinions and a strong personality on your drive home. This is Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It's just the timing, Max, right now with mini camps over and training camp still more than a month away, there's really no rush to be anywhere. So if DeAndre Hopkins wants to wait and see if other teams get interested, maybe the contract offers go up a little bit, that could be to his benefit. So, yes, mutual interest with him in New England, that could happen. But at this point, what I was told is each side kind of taking time to assess where they stand and what the potential timetable is for a deal.
It's going to take time between DeAndre and the Titans. We all need to be patient. He's going to make them wait. That's what's going to happen. Now, let me say this. I don't know how many more days of this we can do. I think we're on like day 23 of DeAndre Watch. I actually counted it up today. I do think it's day 23, or it's somewhere in the 20s that we've been doing this. And as we've learned with everything in the NFL, whether it's a fifth-year option, whether it's a trade, whether it's reporting to camp, whatever it may be, there's always a deadline that spurns the action. Just like Aaron Rodgers to the Jets. Aaron Rodgers told everybody in, February that he was going to be a Jet, and he ended up not getting traded until the week of the draft. Why? Because the Packers wanted the picks to use in this year's draft. So that was the deadline. So, it seems to me like we're all going to have to wait. In fact, the reason we're going to have to wait, TD says the Titans are confident in their offer to Hopkins, but as Mike Lombardi said on the Pat McAfee show, he wants the Odell Beckham contract, which is $15 to $18 million, and the Titans are not offering that.
But he saw Tim McGraw and he still left town.
That's right. No one does that.
You tell me.
That tells you it's all about money, right? It's all about the green stuff. When the guy comes in and everything's going good, it's got the contract. That's why guys don't take visits anymore. When we first started free agency in 1994, everybody was taking visits. There were limos that looked like a recruiting weekend at Penn State. Now they're not doing, now it's all phone calls and making deals.
Now, if I was Vrabel, here's what I would hate about this. And I would kind of push Hopkins and his people to either accept the offer or move on or what have you. Here's what I would hate about it. One, I'm about to go on vacation. Mike Vrabel does not get to go on vacation like every other person in this country. I've been on vacation in the last month, and the time that I've gone, the first vacation I took was during mandatory minicamp. Last week, when I went to go visit my grandma in Florida, that was during OTAs. Vrabel can't take that time off. I took a vacation after the Super Bowl. Vrabel cannot take that time off because that's the Senior Bowl, that's the start of pro days, that leads into the combine. In fact, I believe I might have been off. I probably wasn't off at the combine because the combine's such a big deal. But Vrabel can't take that time off. They got to get prepared for the combine, especially now that he's double dipping as far as coach and football executive are concerned. So the next 3 weeks are really the only 3 weeks that Mike Vrabel gets off. And so if I am sitting here wanting to go to wherever, the Bahamas, Bermuda, Antarctica, Alaska, wherever with my family, for the one vacation during the year that I can take, the last thing I want to deal with is always checking my phone while I'm on that vacation because I got to see if DeAndre's agent has gotten back about this, and I want to check in with Ran about that and everything else. And in Ran Carthon's case, I mean, God knows how long he's been separated from his family on a consistent basis, with them still living in San Francisco and him living here, and the draft and all the hours they put in there. And you have the draft, and as soon as the draft's over, you turn around and you start OTAs, and now they're on the field and they're practicing, and you've got a rookie mini camp, and then you've got the regular OTAs. I mean, the job never stops. So I want to go on vacation if I'm those guys. So I want to get this done before that. The second reason, and I think the Jack Jones incident for the Patriots is an example of this, is the longer this takes, the more likely it is that something happens that could change this entire process. For instance, Jack Jones of the Patriots got caught trying to take 2 loaded guns through his carry-on at Logan Airport over the weekend, and he's facing some real jail time. Well, could the Patriots decide, you know what, let's up our Hopkins offer because we don't want this negative story out there? Stephon Diggs apparently hates the way things are going in Buffalo. Could we see Stephon Diggs and Buffalo head for divorce, and Buffalo say, well, we better get DeAndre Hopkins just as an insurance policy, and they've got one of the richest owners in the league who might say, fine, cut the $15 million check. So those are the 2 reasons. If I'm Vrabel, I'd be nervous. I mean, I'd want this done. I want to go on vacation personally, and I don't want something bad around the league to happen. And then all of a sudden, I'm very confident and happy with my offer to DeAndre, who fits my football team like a glove, and now off he goes. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com, 615-737-1025. Aiden has been waiting patiently and is up next. Thank you for waiting. Go ahead, Aiden.
Hey, Jared, how you been?
Good, man.
So I was just thinking, like, the dilemma for NFL defenses of having to guard D-Hop and Derrick Henry. You can't commit to either one of them, and whenever you do commit to one of them's going to show out. And think about, like, the receiver room. The receiver room is not very good as it stands right now, but you have a first-round pick and Traylon Burks, who would benefit greatly. I know he said, we're fine with the guys that we have now. I'm not fine with the guys we have now if I look at that receiver room. That receiver room needs improvement. Diggs going to be better. Traylon's going to be better. All these players are going to be phenomenal if D-Hop comes.
So I don't completely jump on board with this, but I do know what you're saying, and a lot of people, Aiden, I appreciate your call, a lot of people subscribe to this theory. And this happened. This was the big talking point when the Titans acquired Julio Jones, which was Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, Josh Reynolds, Anthony Ferkser. That, you're going to have to worry about Julio, and so then you're going to pay more attention to AJ, and you got to worry about Derek, and then and all those guys got hurt on some level or another. In Reynolds' case, he ended up, asking for a release and going to the Lions, and that didn't work out. And so the reason why I am skeptical about just looking at this and saying he's going to make Traylon Burks better is because, for the most part in the NFL, most guys, if you're really good, you're good no matter what team you're on. Antonio Brown, when he was the only guy for the Steelers, because Le'Veon Bell decided to quit the season, and Juju Smith-Schuster was fine, but nah. Antonio Brown would require a triple team, and he was still a good wide receiver. Goes to Tampa Bay, where there's Evans, and there's Godwin, and there's Gronk, and And still Antonio Brown's a good wide receiver. I mean, we've talked about Derrick Henry and the idea, think about how this will open it up for Derrick Henry. Well, last year, the Titans had no offensive line, no wide receivers, and for the most part, at the end of the season especially, no quarterback, and Derrick Henry still ran the crap out of the ball because Derrick Henry's great. As far as the influence Hopkins will have on Burks or Okonkwo, or these guys are not rookies anymore. These guys are experienced NFL players. I'm sure they'll take something from it, but it's not going to be earth-shattering, just like it wasn't earth-shattering to have Julio around A.J. Brown. So I'm not sure that I don't see it like that as much as I see it like, okay, if Burks is on the team as the number 1 receiver and Hopkins is the number 2 receiver, then that means that I can call more plays in which I send Treylon Burks deep. And I can take more shots because on 2nd and 7, I'm not going to need to make sure that I get the ball to Burks because I can throw the ball to DeAndre. And by the way, that's another part of this too. As far as the waiting process, the period, the time that it's going to take, is if I'm Vrabel and I'm getting ready to go on vacation and all my assistant coaches and everybody else, they're going, I would like to give Tim Kelly and Rob Moore and Charles London and all those guys some time to know what they're working with. Because no matter how you try to argue it, there's no way to say that you're going to run the same kind of offense and the same plays with Chris Moore at the wide receiver 2 position that you would run with DeAndre Hopkins. There's no way. So I say that, but I do understand what Aiden's point is. And I would argue that, and this is just me, Burks, Okonkwo, Henry, Hopkins, I would take over what you got out of A.J., Ferkser, Julio, and Henry. That doesn't mean I'm guaranteeing that is what it would be, but I understand what they're saying. I get it. And they didn't get a lot out of that group, but you're probably not going to get what you got out of A.J., Corey Davis, Jonnu Smith, and Derrick Henry. And that's because every one of those guys was, at that point, either entering, in A.J.'s case, or the other 3, in the primes of their careers, and Smith and Davis were playing for contracts, and you had an excellent offensive coordinator, and I don't know if Tim Kelly is that or not. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to weigh in on this. 615-737-1025. Plus, Mike Lombardi brought up a little fascinating element about the Titans and DeAndre and what it might mean and the money and how they get there. And we'll touch on that next. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you want to weigh in again here on Stillman & Company. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Those are my guys. You know Hiller has been taking care of my home for years. They do such a good job. I'm so glad that I am a Hiller customer. I love the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. They are the best. And their heat wave heroes are going to keep you from getting burned this summer. If you know that your home needs an air conditioning replacement, do not wait until it breaks down because you do not want to be sweating in your home. This month, get a free UV light and free electronic air cleaner when you buy select new HVAC systems. Or get a whole home water filtration for just $59 a month. Or get a new whole home generator for just $139 a month. Call Hiller's Heatwave Heroes to save the day. Visit happyhiller.com to book. Hiller's work is backed by the Happy You'll Be Your Services Guaranteed edict, and I know that because I use Hiller, and I'm always happy with them. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical, proud supporters of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. Hiller, call the Happy Face Truck today.
Every day we are live and local.
It's no longer about Johansson and Duchesne.
Mike Vrabel was his guy. He wanted him to be his coach.
And your source for Nashville sports.
They had missed the playoffs.
It will help them get better players.
We are Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Catch all the NASCAR action this weekend on 102.5 The Game, Nashville's racing station, brought to you by Richmar Florists. Catch the action Friday with the NASCAR Truck Series, then Saturday the NASCAR Xfinity Series, and the Ally 400 Cup Series Sunday. Richmar Florists, Pennsylvania built, Tennessee strong.
Tuning into the baseball game, monitoring the incoming storm, catching your favorite talk show. These are just a few of the reasons more than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio each month. And did you know AM radio is the backbone of the emergency alert system, keeping us safe in dangerous times? It's reliable, free, and public safety depends on it. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress we need AM radio in cars. This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
For adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy, now there's Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieve 90% clear skin at 4 months, and Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Nothing in me go hand in hand. Nothing on my skin, that's my new plan. Nothing is every day.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, you could achieve 90% clearer skin. Ask your doctor about the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
This year, Boys and Girls Club of Middle Tennessee celebrates its 120th anniversary. Through time, BGCMT continues to evolve to enable all young people, especially those who need us most, to reach their full potential as productive, caring, and responsible leaders. Because of your continued support, BGCMT has remained strong and is committed to supporting our youth and solidifying our mission and culture in new exciting ways for 120 years. Visit bgcmt.org today.
Nashville Superspeedway, Chase Elliott wins.
The NASCAR Cup Series is ready to invade the Music City June 23rd through 25th. We have you covered for the Ally 400 with driver interviews, reports, and all 3 days of racing. It's presented by Richmar Florist, family owned since 1955. Learn more at richmarflorist.com. We are your racing station, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
What's happening in Nashville? This is Scott Van Pelt. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Nice to talk to him, lobby him a little bit.
Yeah, we were able to connect, spend a little time together. Had some great conversations, and we'll see what happens here as we move forward.
Sort of relationship with him before Ryan, or was that kind of one of the first times you got to talk to him on an extended basis?
Yeah, I hadn't been able to meet him before, so really enjoyed meeting him and his girlfriend and spending a little time together. And like I said, it was nice meeting him, and I think he'd be a good fit here. But we'll see what happens moving forward.
I will say this: that was very eloquent of Ryan Tannehill. Spent some good time with him and his girlfriend, which is much better than that Michael Irvin cut we played earlier from 3 years ago, where he said DeAndre Hopkins told him that Bill O'Brien said his baby mamas were coming around too much. I cannot believe that. Oh, yeah, he and Bill O'Brien are fine. They're fine. Can we get that cut? This is from 3 years ago. All the national reporters have been told that everything's fine between DeAndre and Bill O'Brien, and yet here is apparently what happened. Here's what they said happened 3 years ago when DeAndre left the Texans.
I said, tell me what happened in Houston, and he went into it. He told me, he said, Michael, it was a bit of a power struggle there because Coach O'Brien thought he had too much influence over the locker room. He called DeAndre Hopkins in a meeting to talk about this and to kind of, hash it out. In that meeting, he started the meeting with telling DeAndre Hopkins this. That blew my mind when DeAndre told me this. He told DeAndre Hopkins, he said, hey, the last time I had to have a meeting like this, it was with Aaron Hernandez. I was like, what? He put in Aaron Hernandez in this meeting? He said, yes, he did. He said, Michael, that blew my mind that he would even bring that up. I've never been in any trouble. I don't know why would he equate me with Aaron Hernandez. And from there, the meeting just deteriorated. He got into talking about DeAndre Hopkins because DeAndre Hopkins has a few kids and from different women. And he said, he told DeAndre he doesn't like that he has his baby mamas around sometimes. And from that, I think the relationship just went bad. And thus, we got a trade of DeAndre Hopkins from Houston for basically, like I said earlier, a ham sandwich, all because of that relationship.
I love it. Tannehill's like, yeah, it was really nice to get to meet him and his girlfriend. And Bill O'Brien in New England said, you got your baby mamas coming around too much. I do kind of laugh about that. Speaking of Tannehill, Michael Lombardi, again on the Pat McAfee Show, was talking about DeAndre Hopkins. And this kind of came out of nowhere. And I'm not exactly sure what he's getting at. But Michael Lombardi is paying attention to Tannehill's contract.
Here's an interesting thing about Tennessee. Tennessee has not done anything with Ryan Tannehill's contract. He has a huge paragraph 5, I think $25 million. If you were looking to create cap room, that would be the first guy you go to.
What's paragraph 5? What's that mean?
That's your base salary, okay? So what often happens is when you want to lower a guy's cap number, you see he has $10 million or $15 million that he's going to earn during the season. You guarantee that and you divide that out, and that lowers the player's cap number. That's when players get their contract guaranteed, is because their paragraph 5 can lower it to allow more cap room. Tennessee has not done that with Tannehill, which tells us that they're probably going to look for a quarterback next year, whether it's Will Levis or someone else.
Okay, so there's two kind of different thoughts here. The first is, if you want to get DeAndre Hopkins, then redo Tannehill's deal in order to lower that cap number to give you the space to be able to sign him. And then the second thought is, or don't do anything to the deal, take the $36 million cap hit this year, which I don't give a rat's ass about, but I'm sure some of you do. Pay him the $27 million, and boom, next year you're done. I think it's $9 million against the cap. I think 9.8 if I'm not looking at it, but I think it's 9.8 next year against the cap that Tannehill's void years cost you, and then you're done. And so next year, Levis is the quarterback, and Tannehill is on an island with his $200 million that he's made over his career, or he's quarterbacking somewhere else, or whatever. But then they brought up the idea of doing something with his deal. Now, I think there are plenty of guys on the Titans who they would do before they would do Tannehill. To me, Landry is the first place they would go, and they would redo his contract. That's the first guy. The second guy I think they would go to, shockingly enough, is Byard. And what they would have to do is they'd have to guarantee Byard some money next year, which I know they don't want to do. But that would be the second guy I would go to before I would go to Tannehill. Here's one little interesting nugget, though, that pops into my mind when it comes to redoing the deal. Most guys are fine with redoing their contracts because what it means is Ryan Tannehill would get his $26 million of his $27 that's owed to him. He would get that up front. And he would probably say yes to that. But I also wonder if Tannehill feels the need to play ball with the team. Redoing your contract, a full restructure, doesn't really benefit the team in any way, and it doesn't hurt you. You get your money straight up. I think a lot of people for years have thought that restructuring the contract and clearing up cap space was a way of a guy being selfless and giving money back to the team so that they'd be able to spend it, except that that's not true. When Deshaun Watson completely restructures his contract every year, he's not giving any money back to the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns are giving him money up front, and then they are taking away that cap space, and they are spending it on other players. So Deshaun doesn't lose anything, but that's what people have been led to believe. But at the same time, redoing Tannehill's contract would be something that the team would want. And I wonder if Ryan would just take the lump sum of money, and he's had the benefit of seeing Will Levis at every single mini camp or OTA. So he can tell you right now whether or not he thinks there's any chance that guy's going to be able to take his job. And if they do restructure Tannehill's number, his cap hit will be so high next season, for those of you out there that care about it, and considering the fact that the Titans are building a new stadium and they're flying DeAndre Hopkins on Southwest, my assumption is the Titans are trying to count money. They will use the salary cap excuse against bringing Tannehill back, even if he has a good season next year. I don't know if Tannehill wants that. If Tannehill plays this year and plays well, which I think we could all agree is possible, or Levis shows he's not ready and Tannehill does play well, then the Titans would probably want to keep Ryan Tannehill. But they're going to have to pay $9.8 million against their cap in dead cap money. If they redo Tannehill's deal, and let's say they give him $25 million up front, and then they void out those years, that new money accelerates with the 9.8, and now all of a sudden, the Titans are going to be taking on a $30 million dead cap charge on a guy who's not there. Then if they decide to re-sign him, let's say for $30 million a year, which is the going rate, and let's say they decide to re-sign him for $30 million for one season, because you're not going to sign him for 5 seasons, now we're talking about a $60 million cap charge for Ryan Tannehill. You can lower it by phoning up the money, but the team's not going to do that when they are, it looks like, trying to save money. And so it really wouldn't cost the team any money, but it would give them an out. It would give them a public reason to say, we can't do this because of the cap. And you guys, because you believe in it, you would buy it. You guys would say, see, they can't do it because of the cap. Even though Minnesota does this every year with Kirk Cousins, and they seem to find a way around it. But the Titans don't want to spend the money, so they'd find a way around. And Tannehill knows that. And if Tannehill doesn't know that, Tannehill's agents know that. And so if you're one of Tannehill's agents, are you sitting there saying, hold on, we're not doing this because that's going to give them the cause to be able to not bring us back next year and slow the whole process up? I talked to a very prominent agent a couple of months ago, and I asked the agent, I said, how many times does a team tell you, hey, we'd love to do this, but we can't because of the cap? Even though the and then the team turns around and signs somebody else for more money. Oh, we can't do that. That's a cap. We can't. And then they turn around and they do it. And they sign somebody for more money. I could see Tannehill's agents telling Tannehill, if we restructure this contract, there will be so much dead money that goes into next year that they will use that publicly to say, we can't bring him back. Even though the real reason why they wouldn't bring him back is because they just don't want to pay the money. They would say this would be our excuse. Oh, well, I mean, we can't afford that. That would be exactly what I think they would do. And so now you do wonder, is Tannehill going to, hey, I'll play ball with you guys after you went out of your way at every opportunity this offseason to not endorse me as the quarterback for this team? Now I'm going to play ball with you? Something that you can later use against me? And if you think the Titans aren't going to try to use that against him, what did they just do to Kevin Byard? And remember all the people that said, well, they had to ask Byard to take a pay cut because his salary cap number is too high. Willie Donick, I love you. You know that. I mean it, but I'm talking about you, baby. I mean, the amount of time, oh, well, that $19 million cap number's too high. It's too high, too high, too high. So they've already done this to one guy where he redid his deal, got his money up front, the cap number, which again is fake, the cap number's high, and that cap number's too big, and people believed it. So why would Tannehill set himself up for the same thing? If I was Tannehill, I would need, Paul Kaharski brought this up before the draft, and I don't know if he circled back to it, but he's talked about an extension more so than a restructure or a release. Now I don't even know how you extend Tannehill, given the fact that you drafted Levis in the second round. So I think Lombardi's wrong. I don't think the Titans are going to be interested in redoing Tannehill's deal. And even if they were, if I were Tannehill, I would be cautious about redoing my deal, given the way the team may use that down the road. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Texter in the text line says DeAndre Hopkins put up good numbers with all the quarterbacks the Cardinals had to use last year. We cited the stat from The Athletic that said that in the 7 games that DeAndre Hopkins played with a real quarterback, and Kyler Murray, in spite of his faults, and you guys know that I absolutely, positively hate Kyler Murray, like I would never want him on my team, but he is a real quarterback. The other guys on that team, they're not. In the 7 games that he played with Kyler Murray, he was the best quarterback in the NFL. Best wide receiver in the NFL. That doesn't count for everything because it's only 7 games and it's not 17 games, but it does count for something. It does mean something. And that's why I think you take the risk. But I do worry about all of that money. Texter says, what happened to the Rams? It seems to me they pushed a bunch of money out into the future to sign a bunch of stars, and now they're stuck with a bunch of dead money and a crappy team. You know what happened to the Rams? It's not the cap. It's not the money. Remember, last year when they thought they still had a Super Bowl team, they went out and they signed Allen Robinson, and they offered Von Miller to come back, and they were still out there spending money. They gave Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald, out of the kindness of their hearts, new contracts. What happened with the Rams is they haven't picked in the first round in like 7 years. So where the Minnesota Vikings are drafting Justin Jefferson and getting good, young, healthy stars in their prime, they're getting nobody. That's what's happened. They traded away 2 first-rounders for Matthew Stafford. That's turned into good players for the Detroit Lions. They traded away a 2nd and a 3rd for Von Miller. Those are important players. We're talking about the Titans and the fact that the Titans are set back, not because of the cap, but because they whiffed on Isaiah Wilson, they whiffed on Caleb Farley, they whiffed on Dylan Radins, and so they whiff on all these guys, and they, don't sign Corey Davis to a 2nd contract, and so they don't have young guys that when you need a receiver, they're not there. When you need a tight end, they're not there because you don't have any young guys. You have to keep drafting tackles because you don't have a tackle. That's what happened to the Rams. It's that they just didn't have any picks for all those years. 2 for Jalen Ramsey, 2 for Matthew Stafford, a 2nd and a 3rd for Von Miller. They just kept trading. It's not about money. They created a bunch of cap space the other day by redoing Cooper Kupp's deal. 615-737-1025. The funniest thing I have heard about the DeAndre Hopkins stuff, it was brilliant. We'll do that next. Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The Electronic Express 4th of July sale is here. Celebrate with up to 40% off in every department. Don't miss an LG 75-inch 4K TV for only $699 or an Amana laundry pair for just $399 each. Get huge savings on computers, appliances, 4K TVs, smart home, furniture and mattresses, and more. Get an Asus laptop for only $599 or a Napoleon Freestyle grill for $549. Get up to 3 years free financing throughout the entire store. Electronic Express. We make it happen.
The team at Mercedes-Benz of Music City have done it again. Here's Edwin Vickery to explain.
4-time recipient of Best of the Best. Less than 10% of the dealers in the country receive this award. How did you do it? We say culture eats strategy for lunch, because we can strategize all we want, but unless you have the right culture and chemistry in the dealership, it will not work.
Live the dream at Mercedes-Benz of Music City, mbofmc.com.
Upgrade our diamond ring this summer with no money down and 0 interest for 5 years. Don't miss this killer offer from Genesis Diamonds. 5 years, 0 interest financing. Not just on engagement rings, earrings, bracelets, bands, colored gemstone jewelry, pre-owned Rolex watches. Buy now, pay nothing down, and spread your payments over 5 years with 0 interest. So that $5,000 gift comes out to just $85 a month. And that luxury pre-owned Rolex Submariner, Datejust, or Explorer starts at only $150 a month. Now through July 1st at Genesis Diamonds. Green Hills and Cool Springs. On approved credit, see store for details.
Imagine you're looking at a balancing scale with everything you do for other people on one side and everything you do for yourself on the other side. If it isn't balanced, maybe it's time to spend a little more time on you. And therapy is a great place to start. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist online who can help you find that balance and stick to it. Visit betterhelp.com/score to get 10% off your first month. That's betterhelp.com/score.
My ride smells just right, just right, just right, just right. Y'all gotta try that Febreze car. Just right, just right, just right. Yeah. La 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 la. With up to 40 days of consistent scent, all over Febreze car clips right on your vent. You know my car's my happy place. Keep that smile on my face. When it smells just right, just right, just right. Yeah. Breathe happy Febreze. La 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 la.
Nashville's radio version of The Odd Couple.
You would trade for the third pick? Yeah, I don't know that I would do that.
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexrode are Robbie and Rexrode.
I'm here for the discussion. I'm not. It's a good one. It's absurd.
Robbie and Rexrode. Mornings from 6 to 9.
Win the games. When they get in the playoff, they'll have a chance to.
Presented by TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. You're listening to Stillman and Company on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Once I hear about the money, I said it for weeks. If you get Hopkins in the building, you can't let him leave. If you're serious about DeAndre Hopkins, Bill, Patriots, you got to bowl him over with a mountain of money. You're not going to seal the deal if you don't do that. So once I heard he got back on the plane, and once I read Reese last night, and then Jeff Howe's tweet, okay, no, there's still hope. There's still. You had it. You were fooling around. You were getting handsy. And now he's going off. And then that clip was sent to me by my buddy yesterday because he was like, yesterday going into the day, he's like, what percentage would you put it on the Patriots? This is before all the stuff that broke yesterday. I was like, I don't know, 40% because most of the beat writers sound real positive. And then after he left, there's still hope. There's still hope. And I hear the Titans reporter basically talking money, the confidence of the Titans. I think this thing's over. You let him leave. You didn't seal the deal. I think he's going to end up in Tennessee or elsewhere.
My guy, Big Jim Murray on the Felger and Maz program, and he's talking about the cut that we played earlier where TD said the Titans are not worried about New England or a mystery team and that they're confident that they can sign DeAndre Hopkins and that it's all about the money. And that's how they started their show. But I have got to play this because I was not expecting this. I was off on Friday. And so I was at my grandma's out in Florida, and, I did see that Mike Lombardi said on Twitter that the Titans flew DeAndre Hopkins on Southwest, which I could not believe. But I was listening to their podcast on Saturday because my grandma lives out in Florida, out at the beach, and I'm listening to the podcast on Saturday, and all of a sudden I hear my voice and TD's voice, and then they start talking about, this is how Jim Murray opened up the Felger and Mass program on Friday, talking about the DeAndre Hopkins and the Patriots. And honestly, this is the most amazing thing I have heard.
Allow me to do this opening take, if you would, fellas. Colin Cowherd style. Is that okay? All right.
Love it. Looking forward to it. Yeah, me too.
Guys, we've all been there when we were younger. Maybe 17, 16, if you were lucky. You're at a party. You make eyes at a girl. She makes eyes at you. The flirtation leads to both of you on the couch, which leads to some kissing, some groping, grinding on each other like a mortar and pestle. You've never been more excited because you're finally rounding second, you're heading home. And that's when she realizes this isn't for her. Perhaps she didn't like how your breath smelled. Maybe you got a little too handsy. You acted a little too desperate. Regardless of whatever it is, she wasn't comfortable, so she slammed on the emergency brake. And because you're a gentleman, you respect the decision, despite the fact it leaves you sitting there painfully frustrated and literally and figuratively blue. Yesterday in Foxborough, Bill Belichick was that blue-balled teenage boy, while DeAndre Hopkins was the girl who realized something's off, something's not right, and I'm going to find somebody else who can seal the deal. You know where I'm going with this?
I almost peed my pants when I heard that. That is the best. How good, Ian, how good of a Cowherd was that?
He had the rant part down, I think.
That was unbelievable. Stillman and Company, that's going to do it for us. ESPN Radio is coming up next. We'll see you all tomorrow at 2. That's Stillman and Company, 102.5, 106.3.